Welcome to the Thriving Tides podcast. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Julianne. If you're an entrepreneur or busy individual looking for self-care ideas, you're in the right place.
And we can't wait to share our experiences with you. So we got the instant message all podcast hosts who have a guest on hate to get. The dreaded, I'm sorry, but I have to cancel for tonight. Instantly, I know I went into panic, anger, sadness, rejection, upsetness, pretty much all the words, really.
All the things.
All the things. And sadly, as people, and especially as entrepreneurs, we need to regularly expect the unexpected and have that panic moment for ourselves, but then also pull up our sleeves and come up with a solution to whatever setback we end up happening. And it wasn't a planned episode that we had for today. This was not what we originally intended, but I think what a great opportunity to talk about the unexpected when the unexpected happens.
100%. Yeah, it's I think I'm actually really excited to dive into this with you today, because if we tried to put our heads into this when things were smooth sailing, not that that happens for long periods of time,
That happens.
but the fact that we lived it all just today and are kind of still rallying against it.
Living in the moment of it.
Yeah, let's just be present with it and name what's happening.
Yeah, totally.
Love it. So here we are. We're talking about expecting the unexpected, how to roll with the punches, as they might say.
Yeah.
Or pivot. I know I think I'm hesitant to say like pivot and adapt and all those words that seem to be like the buzzwords of 2020 with COVID. Because yes, obviously a global pandemic was something that was unexpected for all of us.
Yes.
But I'm kind of tired about talking about COVID.
I was going to say,
be honest,
it's an honorable mention for this podcast, but it's not the leading factor.
It's not the focus, because when we really think about it, especially as business owners, but really in life in general too, unexpected things happen all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And they don't have to be as large as a global pandemic. It can be something as simple as like your necklace broke.
Yeah.
Shit, I wanted to wear that today,
Yeah.
right? Like little tiny unexpected things happen and really big things happen too. And we just learn how we respond,
Yes.
what that looks like, and yeah, so many different things. So we're just going to dive in and talk about it.
Totally. I'm also really excited because we got a couple responses to, because I did pose the question today.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of really cool answers, so I'm excited to share those as well. And we just kind of want to take you through what we do. Julianne, I know you kind of talk a lot with like coaching and stuff, the drama triangle, and I'm super excited I did take one of her little courses on that, and it was like game changing. So I'm really excited to dive into a little bit of that too. So yeah, I think a lot of things go unplanned, and as much as we try to plan as best as we can, we try to manipulate situations but it's true, it's unexpected. How can you plan for the unexpected? So even that saying, expect the unexpected, is the most hypocritical statement in a sense, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's so true. I think more so than like planning for the unexpected or expect the unexpected, it's more like training ourselves to be able to respond to a situation versus like react and spiral out of control and have it completely derail our day or our week.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, like the drama triangle, I love it. So why don't I just talk about it?
I was going to say, because I definitely had a moment being below the line.
Yes.
So, yeah, definitely. I'm all yours.
Yeah. Teach me.
All things.
Yeah. And I love every time I think you get exposed to it, it like goes a little deeper and you just learn a little bit more. So even if you're familiar with the drama triangle, hopefully this is just, a good refresh or helpful to see it from a different view. But we say that all drama lives below the line. And in conscious leadership, like we go below the line all the time. And that's when we are reacting to situations that are happening and we become like defensive or scared, fearful, like it's like a scarcity mindset, right? So all these different things pop up that don't feel good, but that's just our normal human response for most of us.
Yeah.
In fact, we spend like 80% of our life below the line, most people, and don't even realize it. And the drama triangle is something that happens when we're down there, where we go through, you know, like the victim mindset. And it's like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Oh, this is so hard, right?
This person did this, therefore this is why I'm upset right now because of this person. And,
yeah, exactly.
That
right.
was my
so
biggest
like,
thing.
yeah, we can feel very at the effect of
Yeah.
like, why is this happening? We can start pointing fingers and blaming other people. And that's where we like step into the role of the villain. Not to discount, like we often blame ourselves for stuff too, right? Because even, you know, the situation that happened today, it was like, blah, what did we do wrong? And, you know, like we start questioning ourselves and blaming ourselves. Should we have done something differently? Or then you come into the hero role where you're trying to just like rescue it and make it better, but you're not really fixing it. It's more just like that Band-Aid fix. So when unexpected things happen, this is often where we'll naturally end up. And it feels really good to just bitch and moan about it.
Oh, yeah.
And just complain and rant and like, look at me, I'm right.
And sometimes it is good to do that. Like when that happened today, I did like call my husband, not really crying, but like hyperventilating and like breathing really hard because my heart was in my chest. And like, oh, we had a whole plan. We don't have a backup, like emergency panic. And so,
we had zero plan.
Yeah. So like maybe going forward, it's a learning lesson, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
But
but
so,
no, and you're right. Like ranting, complaining is great to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not, don't do it the whole rest of the day. Like have your moment, but then
get it out, feel your feelings, because those are valid too, right? Yes. So you were saying that you had all these different feelings, you know, panic, anger, sadness, all this stuff came up for you. Well, those are valid and those are yours, and you don't have to rush through them, but you don't want to let them take over your day either. So it's like finding that balance.
Exactly. And I just, again, authentically, I used to always live in the victim because it's nice to be the victim because it's nothing's your fault, right? And it's just like, I feel bad about myself, now you should feel bad for me too, you know. But then like what result happens if you stay in victim all the time, right? So it's
not great. Like you can still get things done from below the line or from being in the drama triangle, but it's pretty heavy.
I was gonna say, you're not probably getting good sleeps and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you're probably having really unfortunate conversations with yourself too, which is never good to have either.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was like the first place that my head went to today. I was in a training course as well. And what we're training about is being in the present moment.
Yeah.
So here my head is going like, what are we going to talk about on the podcast tonight? And what are we going to do? And I hope Steph's okay. And blah, you know, like all these different things happening. And it was a really great thing for me to get thrown into, though, to practice being in the present moment because I had so many distractions happening. So sometimes we have to thank these unexpected things. But it was a real challenge. But it's really cool to be able to catch yourself doing that stuff. And I didn't have a whole lot of time to spend in the drama triangle because I was in a course all day. But when you pull out of it, it happens.
Yeah.
It does.
So then you have the victim, you have the villain, and then there's
the hero.
The hero, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Those roles make the triangle. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and some people favor like one of the three sometimes. I actually had all the entrepreneurs in my entrepreneur forum do this in our last session where they all got to get on the drama triangle and complain, which was fun. It is fun to complain. And you know, some of them were jumping around to all three of the different roles as they talked. Like I just point them and say, oh, you're here now and you're here now, whatever. One of them basically stayed on villain the entire time. We're just like blame. So it's just even cool learning about yourself, whether or not you tend to play the same role all the time or just with certain circumstances. But it's, and we do this just to create that awareness. We don't do it to make it like, yay, you're a villain. Let's stay there. But it creates that awareness, help you understand like what am I really holding on to here? Like, why do I need to be so righteous? Why am I so defensive about it? Why am I trying to make someone else wrong? And where can I like take ownership of my own actions? What could I learn from this? Like, if you can get curious about it, that's where you can start shifting out of the drama and look for the lesson that's there instead.
That's awesome. Now, the hero, though, it sounds like it's a positive. Why is it not a positive, Julianne?
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah. So I would like to be a hero, but it's
right?
not
Doesn't it
always
sound
good to
great?
be
You
a
like
hero.
show up in your cape and your spandex and you're
my
like,
poncho.
woohoo, I got this. Your poncho. The poncho hero. I like it.
For those listening, I'm wearing a poncho
Yes.
today.
I love it. The hero is like just comes in for temporary relief, right? So let's say your complaint is that your coworker is dropping the ball and not getting things done, whatever, right? So you might spend a little bit of time in villain, like blaming them, being whatever. And then you could also swoop in as the hero and just like do their work for them and clean it up, right?
Yeah.
So then you're fixing it, but they don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like that Band-Aid fix, and it's something that's just going to keep occurring over and over again. It's just like teaching a man to fish versus just giving him a fish. Right. So.
See, and I find that a big struggle for me, especially when I was a coach too, because I'd have people come to me all the time and be like, oh, like I'm having a hard time fixing this right now and this. And I could just like say, here's a link to how to do it, or this is how you do it quickly so that you can do it for next time. Instead, it's like, oh, it's just easier for me just to quickly just do it now, you know? And then I spend the time then being a victim, like, oh, they're taking advantage of me now, you know? And it's the drama triangle. Like I'm going through and then I'm being the villain by like villainizing them then. And I don't know if that's correct, but you know what I mean?
But I think you're hitting it spot on for your own situation, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes it is easier to be the hero.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's like, I don't have time to deal with this.
Yeah.
How many times, like, right?
Yeah.
I don't have 10 minutes when it could take me 30 seconds to do it myself versus 10 minutes to explain it to them. And, you know, like, of course, we're busy people. We've got a lot on our plates. So we want to just be efficient. But then if it's 30 seconds for you to do it themselves, but you're doing it for them 100 times, when 10 minutes could have taught them how to fix it, right? Like,
yeah.
And then also you don't have to play the drama triangle anymore because you're not feeling like you're taken advantage of, things like that. And each of the roles in the drama triangle also have equivalent roles above the line.
Yes.
So it's where you can do it in an empowerment dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about the hero one, the opposite to the hero, is actually the coach.
Oh,
so that's where
cool.
you're coaching someone and helping them solve it themselves. Like you're just there as that support and like applying loving pressure.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Just kind of, you know, I'll
this.
teach you how to do it, or I'll point you in the right direction, or I'll ask you the questions because you may even already have the answer yourself.
Yeah.
Or have the means to find it rather than me doing it for you.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you are interested in learning more about that too, like talk to Julianne. That little mini forum course, I don't really know what it was called, was awesome because it was, even though it was small and I kind of wanted a little bit more, just to even understand where you are in certain situations. It's so easy to get lost in your head and feel stuck in the panic and the anger and the sadness and any word there that you could, put. But even today when that situation happened, I knew I had to walk away to get out of my feelings in a way.
Yeah.
To take myself away from the situation and be like, okay, Steph, where are you right now? How can we change this? What can we do about this? And, move on from it.
Absolutely.
Whereas
you have to shift yourself. Like you went for a walk with Cashew because you needed to just like get some fresh air and clear your mind. And that's a fabulous way to shift out of that drama triangle. Exactly.
Then when I came back, we're like, do you know what? We're doing this podcast. And it was perfect.
Yeah.
Came back, sat down, and Julianne looked at my eyes. She's like, geez, Steph, you went hardcore.
I like it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. No, that's really cool. Yeah. And so like what prompted you to be like, I just need to go clear my head, go for a walk. Like, is that something that you rely on often, or?
Yeah, I try to distract myself now. Just again, I used to have like, or I still struggle with it, but like anxiety. But I'm learning how to better manage that anxiety, and also I'm listening more to myself. So like the little course I took with you, I've been seeking help more, and talking to more people, reading more books to understand where I'm at, that my thoughts aren't my thoughts in a way, right? A lot of it is I need to just separate myself, because I can go into this little like drama circle or drama triangle. I don't know why I always want to call it a circle.
Feels like a dizzy spell, I think, probably.
Right? So for me, I was just like, okay, I need to get away from it. And especially since I was panicking, because I'm such... I do like to plan things, and in my head I'm like, well, we already did 2 episodes, like we have to do a guest episode. We can't do just us.
Yeah.
But I was putting that expectation on what other people might think. If I didn't say that, no one would know that we wanted to do like 2 of this and then a guest and then 2 and then a guest. Like,
it's true.
That's just the way we were planning it. And because I'm a person that naturally likes to control situations. So I know this about myself. So I realize I have to take a step back sometimes to be like, Steph, you can't control it. Control what you can. Yes. What I can control right now is that my dog desperately wants to go for a walk and is whining. So I'll take him. And sure enough, you get the fresh air.
Yeah.
And I just felt so much better, and just realized like there's nothing I can do about it. So why stay in that sadness? Move on from it. Yeah. Like, it's not doing anything. It's taking up space in my brain that I don't need to live in that sadness anymore. I'm tired of being sad, Steph, I'm a much better person when I'm happy.
Most of us are.
Yeah, so I'm trying to, and I'm actually kind of glad. Like, old me would have totally gone into like a little corner and just been really, really sad, and, said some things I would have regret. That's my thing. Quick. I'm a fire. Like, ugh. You hurt me, I hurt you back type of thing, right? And it's realizing that you can be destructive. Yeah. And
I love that you're learning all of this about you. And it's so cool to see your growth and how you're just applying it and not letting upsets, no matter how big or small they are, take over your entire day. Sometimes they still will. And that's okay too.
Exactly. Like, there's a couple things we talk about all the time that I'm still kind of going through, and they're heavy things. Like, it's not... I'm not saying, like you're saying, your feelings are valid, and it's okay to feel like the victim, but it's just, what do you do after? Yes. Right? Yeah. And like, how do you handle the situation to not stay in that really dark mindset, And I know, like, where we do talk a lot about like work and and business and stuff like that, but it's also personal life too. Shit can happen. You can go into...
will happen.
Exactly. Like, we can't plan for COVID. We can't plan for if a windstorm hits us and all the trees are down. Yep. You know what I mean? All the trees are down. All the trees go on the power lines that tosses them. I'm like, all the trees are down.
All the trees are down. Chainsaw Jim, get to work.
Yeah. Plugging my husband.
Why not? Yeah. It's so true. It's like it got me thinking about unexpected things that have happened like over the last year or so too, of like running a business, and because I think things feel more personal. Yeah. Right? Like, when I was working in the corporate environment, like, shitty things happen then too, but you had that safety net of, well, I'm probably still going to get paid. Like, I'm working for this big, like, multi-million-dollar company. So, like, one little mistake isn't going to derail everything. Yeah. But now it's like, whew, that pressure is heavy. And it's like, because like I had a client drop out of my entrepreneur forum after the first session. And I don't even know why I feel like I need to explain why, because it really doesn't matter. It had nothing to do with my coaching. It was just, circumstances.
Yeah.
But that was really hard for me. And I was really disappointed because I already didn't have as many people as I had hoped. And then this was just like a nail in the coffin, right? Of the doubt and the insecurity and what's going on. And like, I could have spent so much time being like, making her really wrong about it or like being angry with her. But it's, I like to try to turn things around and say like, what is this here to teach me? And like, what can I learn from it? How do I just keep moving forward? Okay, this is going to be a challenge now, but how do I just still continue to show up and deliver a really great program with the different number of people than I expected? But it just like we flip flop, right? And I go in and out of it. Like it's not like I had my time on the drama triangle and then I came out of it and it never went back there again. If only. Wish it was that easy. But it's like you oscillate back and forth, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's a key takeaway that I hope everyone gets, is that there's never going to be like a solution. We can't just be like, oh, you just have to do this and it'll go away. Like you said, it'll oscillate. Things will come back. Some things are just like another cool thing too, that when situations do happen, or any like bad things happen, it's an opportunity to learn and grow. So for example, now we know for next time, maybe we have a backup episode that we just have a shit ton of notes on, just in case something, happens.
Yeah.
Or we, it's a little hard to keep like a backup guest all the time, but, maybe we just plan a little bit more. Or now it maybe lights the fire under our bums to finally get set up for remote recording now too.
Yeah, because we did have a few people say, "Oh, I would help," but they don't live here on the island. So yeah, we do need to get that. Yeah. And yes, Bernadette, we did think about you.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but it's Thursday night. We know you have clients.
Exactly. So.
We love you.
But yeah, I feel like that's a cool thing too. Is like you learn from it. I like your story on the passport, because now you learned to always check your passport. I would love you to share that story, because it's
so embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing though, because it's funny because when you told me that story, it made me like go check my passport. So you actually helped me a lot. So thank you.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, when we were going on vacation, I got up early the morning before our flight, because, you can do your check-in like 24 hours in advance. And as I was walking down to the basement to get my passport, I was like, I wonder when my passport expires. And I opened it up and it was expired. And this was on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And we live in Prince Edward Island, where there's no passport offices.
Nope.
And we were leaving at like 6 a.m. on a Monday morning from Moncton.
Yeah.
New Brunswick. So I came upstairs bawling to Dave. I woke him up. It's like 6 a.m. on a Sunday. He's like, who died? And he's like, well, I guess I'm going on our trip without you.
Dave
loves me so much. But I just was like, I was so shocked that I would do that too, like me, because I'm not a disorganized person, but like so much had recently changed in my life too, with like leaving Alberta and quitting my job and all these different things. Just wild. Like I don't even understand it, to be honest. But lo and behold, it happened, and it's fine. It's fine. But I had to like get into mode quickly. And this was before I knew anything about the drama triangle. This is before I was a coach, like any of that kind of stuff. And I just figured it out. Like I just got into like solve mode. So I went online. What can I do? Who can I call? Blah. Also, it was like really terrible weather that day, just to add to the fun.
Yeah, you're in winter.
Yeah. So we had to, I'm just going to give the end of the story because I don't want to leave people hanging.
Yeah. What happened?
But I did get a hold of like the emergency office and was able to set up an appointment. I had to get my renewal form filled out. I had to go get a picture done. This is Sunday again, like.
And everything's closed
and
here,
I
by
had
the
to
way,
get
on Sundays.
to Halifax in the crappy weather. And like nothing was opening here till noon, and we had to be on the road before that. So I was like, okay, well, I guess we're going to stop at like Staples or Walmart or something in Dartmouth Crossing and then get down to Halifax to do the thing and wait. It cost me a lot of money.
Yeah.
Also, as we were driving across the Confederation Bridge, I realized that I forgot all my American money in my dresser drawer at home. So I had gotten all this money for the trip. So I had to go get more money. It was just the worst. It was so bad.
But it's a learning experience. Now you're probably always checking your passport. I'm always checking my passport now.
Yes.
So you're helping your friend too now.
Yeah.
So
And anyone else out there, if you ever, like, if we can ever travel again.
yeah, I was going to say, when we
don't
can travel
forget to check your passport. But I really, like, I mean, I quickly, I had to act. I didn't really have time to just dwell on it, or I would have had to forfeit my trip.
I was going to say,
But I felt like an idiot. And I was like, so I was big time like villainizing myself. I was like, you're so stupid. How could you let this happen? Like, I swore I wasn't going to tell anybody.
Yeah.
And here I am telling everybody. Well, whoever listens to this. But like, I was terrified to tell my parents. Like, I was like, what are they going to think of me? And like, oh, all the things, like, just silly, right?
Yeah.
Like, just making myself bad for it, where it was a simple mistake. An unexpected thing happened. How do we just move on from it? But yeah, like, it sucked. But now I can laugh about it.
Yeah.
But like that panic, like that feeling, whew.
I feel like traveling's the best way to prepare yourself for the unexpected. Because even our trip
Yes.
was a lot of unexpected. And I was definitely being in the victim mentality hardcore.
How could this happen? It's my honeymoon.
It's my honeymoon. Why is this happening? The universe hates me. Yeah. But no, it does not. It's just
the
shit
weather
happens.
didn't cooperate.
We live in a really snowy climate that unfortunately delays a lot of shit. So
yeah, it's and I wonder, and I was pretty calm. Like,
I was gonna say, I was really happy to have been traveling with you because here I was like crying. James was trying to console me, but I was unconsolable because like I was looking forward to the trip and everything. But then you were like my little calm angel over there, just like, don't worry, Steph, we'll get it figured out. I'm gonna call them, and of course when we got there, they're like, oh, we can't accommodate you and blah blah blah. And then I called Julianne, and Julianne's, don't worry, I'll handle it. And I'm like, oh my god, I love her so much.
You were like, your honeymoon's gonna be good.
Yeah, I'll definitely travel with you again. You're a good travel person to go with. So,
and I traveled a lot. Like,
yeah,
I used to travel back and forth from PEI to Calgary at least once, mostly twice a year for like 10 years.
True.
So I've had my fair share of delays and cancellations,
yeah.
getting stuck in airports, trying to find somewhere to go live, stay for the night, which was a lot more challenging when I was younger and had less money.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't always want, Mom, Dad, like, help me out here. But this even happened to me on my way home from Washington last February.
Yeah.
I was down there for training, and the morning I woke up that I was supposed to leave, I had an email being like, your flight's canceled. That was it. That's all I got.
It's like,
I'm like,
that sucks.
Okay, cool. And so I'm like trying to call the airline. I called Dave and was like crying to him, and I was just like, I'm stuck in Washington, and I just want to go home. Like, I'm so tired. And like, just like the guy on the phone was like, well, I can get you to, like, he could get me to like Moncton, or he could get me to Halifax. I'm like, but that's not where I live. I could go on all night about travel stories. I probably shouldn't. So we'll move on.
As always, we do want to hear your guys' opinions and thoughts. And today I did pose the questions to our listeners following us on Instagram. So if you aren't, follow us there. But I did pose the question, like, how do you handle this? And what are your thoughts on dealing with the unexpected, really? And we got like so many cool results, and I'd love to talk about them. So one of them that I really like is take a break, talk it through with your partner, and see what you can come up with to solve it. I do like that, like not just being by yourself and internalizing it, talking to someone, and
the break too, like not just like
Go in on
Let's
it.
just dive in and freak out and whatever, right?
Yeah.
Those are two great suggestions.
Right.
I like it.
The other one is in the moment, cry. Then I need to hash it out. Then I usually do different than everyone else's cancel, and then they get mad. So that's completely fair. And sometimes, you just need to cry it out. You know, it's really hard to handle sometimes. And, you know, crying just makes you feel really good sometimes.
It's just such a good release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's normalize crying.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one made me laugh because it's funny because I was like, oh, I really need a glass of wine right now.
But it's dry January.
But it's dry January for me. So I'm like, oh, gosh, I'm going to really earn that glass of wine. But one of the comments was, honestly, I usually just complain and pour a glass of wine. I'm so excited for this episode. Thank you. We're excited about it too. I was just like, I relate to that so much. I want to just put the praise hands up and just, yes, that's exactly how I feel about that. We also got like a couple really long responses too, which was really nice. And I loved how some people put it. And again, we keep this all anonymous as well. But I really love this. Take a deep breath. Say thank you to the universe for my opportunities. Be mindful of all the good things in my life and hit reset.
That's beautiful.
Also pat myself on the back because we're all going through it. Do your best, girlfriend. And I'm like, oh,
I really love that.
I love that. Thank the universe. Like, be thankful. Yeah. Okay, this is happening. It sucks, but where's the opportunity in it?
Absolutely.
And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Like it's probably here to teach you something, or you know, maybe. I don't know, like, I mean, in our situation, that might be different, but, like, you know how sometimes, like, you get delayed or, like, you spill coffee on yourself on your way out the door and then you have to get changed or something? Like, I sometimes will wonder, like, did that help me avoid getting in an accident, or did that, like...
Oh, like, you know, butterfly effect thing.
Yeah, like, different things like that sometimes. Like, I don't know.
See, I don't like to think that way because then I start to like go, oh, but then this could happen. I read like a little movie in my head. I'm never leaving the house again.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, like just the gratitude is in itself like such an important thing that, you know, whether something unexpected just happened or not, gratitude makes everything better, right? In my opinion.
Yeah. And like sometimes it's just the easiest way because it's so easy to think about the things that you're grateful for. You know, and it's so much harder to like try to get out without thinking about being grateful. It changes your tune. Yeah. So much faster than trying to think your way out of feeling a certain way, if in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I like that.
And lastly, I got a really long response, and I love this one. So she said that her partner is more flexible at readjusting to daily setbacks. And then she said, I am an overplanner and have always thought I've been setting myself up for productivity by planning every single second. But some days the rigidity really knocks you on your ass. Ha ha ha. I'm like, yes. I've been trying to just be more present in the moment. When I start to see things are getting off track for my day, I found stepping back sooner has really helped. Pulling myself out of it quicker also helps me to refocus before I get too wrapped up and anxious and watching things fall apart. Breathing and talking it out are huge for me. And I like that because, I know I'm definitely a planner too. And you want to plan everything to make sure that everything goes perfectly to plan. But at the same time, when you're like being scared and worried about the unexpected, it holds us back too. And then when things do fall apart, it's like everything is in shambles. And I totally felt that one. I'm like, oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah. I loved that response.
Yeah, big time.
So yes, thank you all for sending us your responses because I love that. And so many cool ideas. And I think the general consensus though is taking a step back and breathing.
Yeah, and drinking wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really neat. It's nice to have different perspectives on it too, right? And just like know that you got this. Like you just need to take a moment.
Exactly.
5. No, that's really cool. What about like, let's talk a little bit about the impact that it has on us if we do allow this like anxiety, if that's what we want to call it, or just like this feeling of victimhood or whatever. It can really consume us if we don't take that pause or talk it out with someone that we trust and love, like it can really like
100%.
just take over. Have you ever had that happen to you?
All the time. I'm getting better at it. Again, I have anxiety and I've had depression, and I still try to work through it as much as possible. So it is easy when you do have these mental health conditions that it's so easy to go into that dark place and go into that mindset. But I think finding the tools and like knowing yourself, I think, is a huge thing too. Because like what I do for myself to get myself out of it may not work for you. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of people will just say, oh, just get over it. Like, it's fine. You're healthy. You're good. And unfortunately, it's not that easy sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can. I'm trying to word it differently for myself. So I say, like, I could play the victim and I could stay in that mindset. Or I can take this as an opportunity of growth for myself. And
Right.
I think changing the dialogue with myself really helps that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like that. It's yeah, like I can't think of when it's like really fully consumed me. Anytime recently-ish. I don't know. But it does come up, and it's choosing how we want to respond is really big. Like I know that like when I'm just feeling overwhelmed, mostly it happens when I'm feeling like burnt out and tired.
Yeah.
That's when any little unexpected thing can feel huge.
When you're not taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
you're not practicing self-care.
Yeah, big time, right?
Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not, treating yourself to your full capability. So yeah, it's so much easier to go into that mindset if you're not even, deeper.
Right? Well, and we do like to talk about self-care here.
Exactly.
But that's it. That's the trigger for me is if I'm not taking care of myself and I just get run down and I'm trying to do all the things and please everybody, like show up for everybody on their agenda and their timeline versus my own, then I just, like little things just drive me crazy or I get really pissed off about them and can even be things that I expected sometimes, to be honest. They can still get me.
Yeah.
So it's just like a step back and, okay, what do I need in this moment?
Nice.
And learning how to prioritize ourselves and fully recognizing that may not always be possible in that exact moment. But as soon as you can, like what kind of self-care could you do? And that could be just some deep breaths because anybody can do that from anywhere.
Yeah.
Even if you're in the middle of a meeting with people, like you can take some really good solid deep breaths without anyone even knowing.
Right. Oh, it's so true.
We always have that. But I like to do something a little more
Yeah.
if I'm having a really crappy day, right? But it's just learning yourself.
Do you find that you put a lot of expectation on yourself then when you're in kind of like not taking care of yourself moments?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Just a simple yes. No more further questions.
Yeah, it's funny. Like you know me, I love to do all the things.
Yes. Miss Overplanner here. Yeah.
Yeah. And like right now I'm like, whew, my schedule, like I was talking to someone today who is interested in coaching and I was like, he's like, yeah, we could probably meet next week or whatever. And I was like, I can't. Like I could, but looking at my calendar, like I was starting to be like, whew, like it feels heavy already.
Yeah.
I have a few little pockets, but I have to remember, like when you're not in meetings, you need time to get the things done that are being assigned to you in the meetings. Like, so I was like, I can't meet with you for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But being able to say that versus like, cause that could be an unexpected, right? If I'm like, oh, I don't have, my next availability is in 2 weeks. I am risking someone say, okay, well, I'm just going to go elsewhere then.
Yeah.
But you don't know what their timelines are. You don't know what's going on. But I did recognize like I was in a course last week and I'm in a course this week and I'm really excited and I'm really into it. And this is just the way that everything lined up for me to be able to do it, but get it all done before the end of 2021. Otherwise I'd be pushing into 2022 and I just don't want to do that. And now I'm blabbering on. But I recognize this as a choice that I made too. So, for instance, on the weekend, I needed to get some work done. Mm-hmm. And I found myself, I was out on a hike in the morning and I was like, oh, I have to work this afternoon.
Yeah.
And then I had to, I changed my thoughts and I was like, I get to work this afternoon. Yeah. Like, how lucky am I that I get to make my own schedule and I am choosing to do this. And then the rest of my day was so much better.
I like that. Changing what you're saying to yourself.
That narrative in our minds, whew, it's strong.
It's so true. You have like that one thought and then it just kind of, snowballs into a bunch of other thoughts.
Yeah. It could have ruined my day, right?
Oh, totally.
Because Dave had his family over to watch a movie. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go downstairs and work. And they were like, what? You're not going to watch it with us? And I could have been like, I know, like, doesn't it suck? I have to work. But I was like, nope, I went on my hike today. And that was the choice of what I was doing for my self-care and my quality time with people. And now I'm going to go downstairs and get my work done.
Well, that and going back to the sorry episode, you're not apologizing for getting your work done.
Right?
Right?
Oh, man. Every time someone says sorry around me now, I'm like,
you said sorry.
Why? Why did you say sorry?
We don't say sorry.
No more sorry. Oh, so funny. So funny. No, I love the text that my mom sent me too.
Oh my goodness. Your mom is adorable. I love it.
She texted me after she listened to it and I just have to say it. Because we always also talked about the just, right? Yeah. So she says, sorry, I just listened to your episode. Ha ha ha. I was like, you're adorable, mother. I love it.
I love that so much.
It made me smile. And then I sent it to Steph.
And it it was awesome. I love that.
I like it. So what do you think, Steph? We got any tips that we want to share on like besides like the breathing, the stepping away? Is there some other stuff that you like to do when things are just starting to either unravel or have just blown up in your face?
Yes. I actually have like a whole bunch of, I even wrote down a list. They're not really in a particular order, but I did number them. I don't know why.
Why not?
But I ain't apologizing for it.
I ain't sorry.
I ain't sorry. James thinks I'm sassy now because I keep saying, I ain't sorry.
Love it. You are
sassy person. So the first one is, again, step away from the problem. Mm-hmm. The second one is don't react right away. This one's especially for me because I do tend to react very fast and say things I'll regret, which is never a fun thing because then that just brings up a whole different drama triangle of on myself, like, why do I do this? But anyways, the third one is do something that'll kind of take me away from the situation. So like we had mentioned that I go for the walk to clear my mind. Sometimes I'll draw, sometimes I'll do something creative that I don't have to really think about. And yeah, do something different than the situation at hand that'll distract you. Number 4 is do something. Oh, I already said that one. Number 5 is listen to music or a podcast that will put you in a good mood or change your perspective. So, for example, today when I was actually going on my walk with Cashew, I had put on a podcast, and it was actually the Reba McEntire podcast. Yeah. I love her accent. I can't stop listening. But it was the episode on rejection, which is kind of rejection and unexpected and disappointment kind of goes hand in hand. So it was a really interesting episode to listen to today. But it puts a different perspective on things. And I do like to think about those things because again, sometimes even if you do take the step back, we can still get into that mindset of victimhood. But if we look for other answers outside of ourselves, I find that helps.
Yep.
Number 6 is to try to find the silver linings. So is the opportunity of learning, growth in the situation. Number 7, let it go, let it go. I don't know the rest of the words of the song, but let it go, let it go. I really cannot sing. I'm sorry. I will apologize for that because I was probably really brutal.
I don't think you needed to apologize.
I'm going to apologize for that.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
So yeah, let it go. And lastly is also have backup plans for everything. So not only with your work, if there's ever anything that you could anticipate, definitely have a backup plan for that. But even for personal, having that emergency fund, because we just never know. Life happens, you know. Having that fund can really, make or break certain situations. Do as much research as possible too. So if you're going into a situation that is either uncharted territory or new, sometimes it's easier to feel a little bit more comfortable with the situation and know if there's like any paperwork, dates, or issues that may need to be addressed. Because so often we go into situations not realize that we had to bring paperwork, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh shoot, we got to bring paperwork to this. And then you start to go into that panic mode, right? And yeah, again, think about the hidden and unanticipated situations and most things. We can't live in that fear of like, what's going to happen, you know? And sometimes you do kind of have to just, go into things unexpected and not knowing. But if you are able to prepare for situations, I think that helps.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's certain things that warrant the, be really prepared and look at all the different angles and what might happen, especially like if the risk is really, really high.
Yeah.
And then other things, it's more just like we're building that muscle of how to respond or what's going on, right? Like, so if a friend cancels on you or a guest cancels on you or different, like smaller things that like this could happen, but like how much could you have planned for it, right? Like, yes, we said we could have had like a backup episode ready or something like that.
Yeah.
But you don't want to spend all of your life in like fear mode. So it's like striking that balance of like being prepared and having backup plans, but also then like trusting that like when something does happen that you maybe weren't prepared for, that you're going to use these other tools that we've shared to take a step back, take a breath, sing a song, go for a walk with your dog, phone a friend.
So do you have any other tips that you would offer that I may have not mentioned?
I think you did a pretty bang up job here. Yes. You pass. Nothing else immediately comes to mind. I think it's just, it's slowing down and it's not letting it consume you. So whatever that looks like for you, I think it's an individual approach for many people also of like what brings you joy. Yeah. Right.
I was going to say, some people don't like to go out for walks when it's really cold.
Yeah. It was cold today too.
Yeah, it was like weird.
Not too bad, but yeah.
It's cold for me. I don't like going outside when it's windy, cold, windy.
Yeah. But yeah, it could be, could be taking a nap.
Oh, yes.
Could be meditating. Could be just like jumping in the shower or, do a quick little workout, move your body. Like, move your body, change your mind. That's
Play
what Rachel
a video
Hollis
game.
says. Or like draw, doodle. Like there's so many things that you can do that just like snap you out of it. So it's like just something that you love.
Yeah, I had at the beginning of, actually, it was funny because it was, something happened, and then also I was looking at the politics when that big siege or whatever thing happened, and my anxiety was through the roof. I'm like, nope, I need to go farming, and I pulled out my little farm game simulator, and I was like just farming the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, yes,
this is so much better. Yeah.
It's a distraction, but sometimes you need distractions, and I don't think distractions are bad.
Yeah.
Especially when you could go into that roller coaster of emotions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Agree. So before we head into wrapping things up, I love this article that you found.
Yes.
I'm not going to take credit for finding it. And it's called The 4 Most Common Business Setbacks and How to Recover. And it's on entrepreneur.com. These setbacks are really interesting.
And they're super common. Like super common. I feel like I've definitely had a couple of these or have situations that I know of.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for any entrepreneur and probably most people in general, this has happened at some point.
100%.
So the first one being a loss of reputation.
Ooh.
So this could be like bad reviews, accusations from a competitor, maybe a public exposure that's happened to your company. So there's a number of different things that could happen that hinder or completely destroy your reputation.
Exactly.
And that's a pretty big, they're really like starting to just like
right out the gate. Yeah.
Right in with a hard hitter. Right in.
Yeah.
Has this ever happened to you?
No. But I have a really cool story, and I do really appreciate it, and it just goes to show. But oh my gosh, it was a while back. I think it was like 2017, 2018. I went home back in Alberta, and I went to go hang out with my mom, and their kitchen appliances, like her dishwasher, wasn't working. And so, of course, they called the plumbing people, and like we needed an emergency because I was there, my aunt was living there at the time. Like, the house is full. We needed the dishwasher, and the dishwasher was connected to the sink somehow. I don't understand plumbing. If you're a plumber listening, maybe you know better than I, but it was connected, so even the sink wouldn't drain. And with a house full of people, you need that sorted.
Yeah.
You know? So my mom called this plumbing company in Alberta, in Edmonton, and they said that, oh, yeah, we'll be there on Friday. And of course, it was like my mom's only day off that she took to hang out with just me because I was going back home in a few days. And so she's like, okay, hopefully they'll come. They said it was going to be between this hour, whatever, you know, the regular.
Yeah.
Like they give
we'll
you a
be
time
there
frame.
between 9 and 5.
Well, like it was
But
even,
it was shorter.
It was shorter. It was like
Yeah.
supposed to be like in the mid-afternoon. So like between, I think they said like 10 to 1.
Yeah.
So that gave us enough time that we could hang out together in the morning at home. But then in the afternoon, we were planning on going to go have sushi together. And we're going to have like a mother-daughter date, you know, before I have to go back home because I live in PEI. You know, I'm far from my parents.
Yeah.
Precious time. And she took the day off for this too. So that was also a loss of revenue in a sense for her.
Yeah.
But anyways, they ended up not showing up between that time frame, and it was starting to get late. So my mom called, no answer at all. Long story short, they never came. And because it fell on a weekend, we needed to get it done because the dishwashers now just started leaking the day after. And so my mom had to call an emergency plumber, which on the weekends is like really expensive.
Yeah.
And so she got so mad at that company because sure enough, like you promised that you would be there. She had called like earlier, and if you make a promise, you make a promise. And so I was really upset because this was a chance to hang out with my mom that was literally stolen. And of course, like we were both very, very upset. Like we couldn't. Like we ended up going out for sushi a little bit later, but like our whole entire day we were going to go shopping,
Just sitting around waiting and being annoyed.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of takes away from it. We're both totally in the, negative mindset bitching about it. But yeah, so like that was a really shitty thing. And my mom is one of those people that will never go out of her way to say anything, but I was so upset. And like if you really upset me, I will write a review. You know what I mean? Like if service is really that bad, I don't want people to go through that too because it's just not good. So like I did write a review.
You're rescuing other people from the same experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I wrote a review, and my review literally said the whole entire situation and that it was really upsetting. And it's funny because I didn't hear anything about it. And then 2020 is when I got a phone call from that company saying, "Hi, is this Stephanie?" And then my last name. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, "Oh, I'm a representative for the plumbing company that we want to make things right with you." And I'm just like, okay, this
like
was
4 years later?
4 years later. And I was just like,
I mean, good on them.
Okay. First, it was the owner of the company that contacted me on LinkedIn. And I was just kind of like, look, it was just a really bad time. I don't really want to talk about this right now. Like, it's been 4 years. Honestly, water under the bridge right now, but like at the same time, like I can't in good conscience just take down my review because you asked me to. It's nice that he did that and he did apologize, and I think it's just the hard head Taurus in me. I'm like, no, like that's you guys took away that moment from me and my mom.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress, but
how do you really feel, Steph?
How do I really feel about this?
Still got
Long
some juice
story
in there
short,
for you. Yeah.
His representative was just like, she gave me a phone call and really explained the situation that they're changing things and they're really sorry about what happened. And she's like, I'm going to send you a gift card for really helping me. And sure enough, they talked to my mom and they're like they gave her a discount for future use to like, actually show what they can do now. And unfortunately, they were going through a time where they were changing things and management was kind of a little bit shoddy at the time, and that happens. And then when she put it in that perspective, I felt like such a dick for friggin' doing that. Like I was just like, oh man, I'm kind of being a bummer right now, and I wouldn't want people to do that for me. So I was like, I'll just take off my review. And she's like, oh, you don't have to, but like we really would appreciate it. And I'm like, I'll take it off. It's okay. The fact that you're extending the offer and apologizing, and like they wanted to talk to my mom too to see if like they could make it right, and sure enough they did. And that was huge because then now knowing that they're gonna make it right too, And sure enough, I remember seeing their Google, because again, when you're talking about SEO, your rankings are huge, especially when you look at Google My Business. Like, it's a huge part of your positioning in the SEO. And yeah, I noticed that they started to flip from like, I think they had like 1 star to now I think they're at like 4.5. And now when you search Edmonton Plumber, they're now back up there.
Yeah.
Which that just goes to show that even though it was probably hard to change that, it was rectified, and you know, they're doing something about that. Yeah, it costs a lot of money to probably I'm sure I'm not the only person that they sent a gift card and or gave a discount service to show, but sure enough, guaranteed their business is doing so much better because they're, you know, getting those reviews and, you know, fixing the mistake that happened.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's so huge.
That's what people have to do.
Swallow their egos, and they just said and bit like honest about it too.
Yeah.
We were going through like changes. It happens, and yeah.
Yeah, it's good that they owned it. Like, it's surprising that they would even go like back that far and do it. But like, I guess that even goes to show like we really care about, you know, fixing this and making it right. I'm sure they also cared about their reputation and making that, you know.
Well, yeah.
But that's a scary one. And like, sometimes I think, like, I haven't had that personally happen to me in my coaching business at this point, hopefully never. But with deep sea fishing, like, we've definitely had random terrible reviews, right? Like, because we've been on TripAdvisor for a long time and we're on Google and all that stuff. So we get the odd ones. Like, it's been a long time. Like, it was before Jamie and I took over, but Jamie was doing the social media and techie stuff all at that time too. And people will go on and say like, oh, we didn't catch any fish, and like,
things that you can't control.
Guarantee it. Yeah. You know, and I'm not saying we're perfect, and yeah, things do happen and things don't always go as expected, but you know, we do our best to do what we can. And like, if we do have a bad review, we do like to comment on it and say, you know, like, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, or, you know, like, help me understand a little bit more like what really happened here, and we would investigate it and try to, you know, if it was something that we did do incorrectly, like, we would own it and try to fix it. If it's just that the fish didn't bite that day, well, there's not much we can do about that. But we like to show that we are responsive as well, right? Rather than just ignoring it or like private messaging them and being like, please take that down. Like, I don't want that there. But it is a scary
an argument
thing, like,
with that person, and
right?
Because
like,
other people are looking at that too. And if you had that response, like, well, we can't really guarantee fish because, well, they're fish. Yeah.
Hey, you're fishy. Yeah, it's just different, right? But I know, like, it can be like when you're in that fear that you're like just like terrified to get a bad review or to be accused of doing something, then that can also limit your creativity and your ability to really show up for your clients and your customers. So
you can't plan for it.
Reputation is huge.
Yeah.
But I love how, you know, owning up to your mistake, and that's exactly what it says here in the article too. Like, own it and then seek to fix it.
Yeah.
And if it's just like a one-off thing, or maybe like you need to improve your overall service or your product, like really just like then lean in and learn from it. And hopefully then you're going to avoid the stabs to your reputation moving forward. So
exactly. And sometimes you will get just a couple people that are just upset and they just want somewhere to vent, and unfortunately it happens. But try to go into it with a mindset of if there is something that you can fix.
Exactly.
Just to kind of, because there is some times where I've seen like you have no reason to be upset, but
and
like
other people will see that too.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Most people are pretty savvy.
Pick your battles, as they say, right?
Don't get into a full-on argument. Never get into an argument online. It's just nothing goes anywhere.
It doesn't.
What's the second setback?
The second setback is a challenge in our personal lives.
Oh, this has definitely happened to most people.
Yeah. Right? So like, you're running your own business, especially for those who are like a solopreneur or just like a small team, or like you do the majority of the work. Like, if you have a loss in your family or just something that like rocks you to your core, like, that can be really tough. Yeah. Because if you need to take time off to grieve or whatever, like, do you have someone else that you can hand your work over to, or do you just need to close? So like that's a really big setback that could happen to many people.
Totally.
Yeah. I personally don't have a backup plan. If anything were to happen, right? Like I would just need to simply take the time off because like I am the coach. Like Lisa and I would have each other's backs to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, like that is a challenge, right? Like that's something that I need to be, it's like kind of expect the unexpected. Like I would need to be prepared for that in some way.
And so possibly perhaps finding a plan for yourself too, like just in case that does happen.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it could happen.
Oh yeah, totally.
Who knows? Yeah. And like if I had a bigger team or something like that, then that would be different. But like same for you, like what would you like, I guess you do have some contract people that work for you from time to time to do some of your design work, but
I do, but those are like I have to like hands-on like to
Yeah.
tell them about the brief
Right.
and like
yeah. And they're not like,
things and
they're not talking to the clients directly or
no,
anything either,
I'm the
right?
middle man at
Yeah.
that point. Well, not really middleman because I'm still in the control of the project and I still work on it too. But,
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, it's tricky because I have been in certain situations, especially last year and this year, that unfortunately I had to take some time, and it does suck because luckily all my clients, if you're listening, are amazing and they understood. Like there's just some people that I had to tell them exactly what was going on with my personal life, just to be like, I'm not trying to be this way right now, but my whole entire world got flipped. You know?
Yeah.
So for me, I find like I don't have a solid plan, but for the most part, I do try to work. Like I'll give myself 2 days. Yes, it's 2 days that I'm not working, but Tuesdays in the grand scheme of things isn't a huge deal. But I need that time to like separate myself and really, you know, get into a better mindset. I keep saying mindset.
Mindset.
But yeah, so I'll take those 2 days, but then after that, I'll kind of slowly get back to work. Even if I am like crying through like working, but like, it's what I find works for me because it is true. I can't take a whole entire week off, you know, unexpectedly. Like when my dog died in 2019, I was lucky because not lucky, but I was lucky that at the time all my projects were ending and I didn't have anything really pressing. So, and like the one thing that I had was a client that was super, like I've been with her for, oh my goodness, like 3 years, and she's almost like a friend in a way. Like we're at that level, you know what I mean? So she understood completely, and she's like, you take your time. She has a backup designer that like, she doesn't usually get a lot of work done from her, but she still will call on. So like, luckily there's that. Yeah. So I think it's just, and I was open and authentic. About it too. I gotta think sometimes we come from a place of fear of, but the thing is, most people understand. Yeah. A lot of us have had grief. A lot of us understand like life happens. But yeah, it's
it's like playing this weird line of, you know, if you do need to, you know, push some projects or some meetings or stuff like that, do you say why? Like, do you just say like, you know, something personal has come up, or how much do you share? And that would vary case by case on like who your client is and how well you know them and where you as yourself and how big of an impact it was. So I think it's just like trusting that you'll know what's right. Like it will be a setback. Things will have to change and shift and whatnot. But it's just, you know, like you taking care of you needs to be the important thing at that point too. Because if you do just fully push through it, like you're probably going to have a breakdown at another time.
I don't think it'll be good for your business because you're probably not in the correct mindset. Take a shot every time I say mindset in this episode. But it's true. Like it's how I feel like I'd be making like a bunch of mistakes. And not really looking at clues. I wouldn't also even be creative. I'd be kind of just
everything would be very blue and just like blue. So yeah, it's a common setback. I mean, depending on your situation, might be a little bit harder to have a plan for it, but just trust that you can take care of yourself as needed and come back when you're ready.
And have faith that everything will work out too. You know, everything happens for a reason, and money comes and goes.
As your mom says, right?
As my mom says. My mom's a smart woman.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Steph's mom. So the next setback is the loss of a major client.
I feel this one so deeply.
Tell me more.
Oh man. Well, I think like when you're a service-based business, it's not more so like a loss of a major client, but the loss of a potentially major client for me.
Okay. Yeah.
Luckily, when I will say, knock on plastic, that when I get a client because I do work really hard for my clients. But it's losing a contract really sucks for me because then I think I have it. Like there's a couple times where they would approve the proposal and the quote, and then they'd be sending. All the next step was to send a deposit so I could get started on work, and then all of a sudden I got ghosted. Like that's happened
That hurts.
so many times. It's it sounds bad, but I'm kind of immune to it now. Like I it's just a part of the trade. But at the time, I was just so devastated because I was planning like, oh, this could have paid for it's just been perfect. I could have had a little bit more money in my bank account because it was a really big project or a project that I was looking forward to.
Yeah.
That one's really hard. Or like when it goes to like someone else, like that's also really hard because then you start comparing yourself and so on and so forth. So it's a little bit different than a loss, but in my head, it's a loss.
Yeah. I think that still totally relates to it, right? Like, not getting the client is one thing, but then like I think I look at some businesses who have that are service based as well, right? And they have like one or two like major clients that all their revenue comes from, and then maybe like a little bit over here. And it's like if that one or two major clients is gone, then it's what like happens? Then what? What does that look like? And at the time, it feels like great because you're like, whew,
don't
awesome,
have to do anything.
Good to go, no problem. But it's worrisome too. So it's it's like I guess like you want to know what happened.
Yeah.
Did you contribute to it? Did you see it? Like, could you have seen it coming? Like, what can you learn from it for a future contract that you might have?
But sometimes it's also things that the potential client may have not even predicted themselves. Yeah. Like change of like the way things a freaking pandemic.
Right?
You know what
like
I mean?
they just
like,
can't.
They can't manage it. And it's true, like we get sometimes really comfortable in those kinds of jobs. And that's a difficult one.
Yeah, it is. And like I love what it says here in the article too, right? Like it's like have an honest conversation about what you could have done differently and apply those changes to your next client. Like if it's something that you were doing. Yeah. Or if it's not necessarily about you, but a change in what they need or like a pandemic happens or something like that. A great thing to do is ask for testimonials and be able to, use that to help display like this is what we've done and hopefully help you attract your next major client.
Exactly.
And maybe put a few extra eggs in your basket.
Exactly.
Depends on your business model, right?
And sometimes change is good. I resist change as a Taurus, but it's also really good. And it might bring new creative ideas and opportunities.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yep. You got that.
What's number 4?
Number 4. We're so weird. Challenges with team dynamics.
Company culture. It's one of those things that we don't talk about a lot as entrepreneurs that have employees and stuff. Yeah. What does it say, Julianne?
So like when you have multiple people, you're probably going to have conflicts. Right? Like any then this is what we say in conscious leadership too, like any relationship has some sort of conflict, right? So it's just a matter of how you handle it. Yeah. Startups are high stress, right? So especially if you're just getting into it, trying to figure it out, if you've got multiple personalities there, everybody's under stress, like that can cause a lot of friction as well.
A lot of ideas, a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, well, it's interesting here. So it says 65% of startups fail because of interpersonal tensions within the founding team.
Right.
65%.
65. When I read that, I was like, what? That seems way too high. But it is kind of true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is. And it says while the reasons for the tensions can vary, it's usually something that's going on beneath the surface. So it's something that's like internally happening with these individuals that maybe they don't know how to face or they don't know how to communicate or whatever. And then it causes these weird fights and tension and whatnot. And then the business doesn't survive it.
They need a leadership coach, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you my number. If you're feeling this one's calling your name.
Yeah.
This is it. That's exactly what I love to do is like find out like what is really happening here. And I love that they actually note there's 3 categories of these like hidden issues here. And it's like power and control, care and closeness, and respect and recognition. And wow. That's yeah. Like I have no words. That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to source it and work through it. Otherwise it's just going to keep leading you down that road, and then you may not have this business that you were once so passionate about. So
it's so true. And it's funny because I always talk about branding, it's where you're focusing on your clients and your customers. And everyone always says like whatever the customer says, like you're trying to learn your customer more. But sometimes we spend so much working like on our business that we don't look at the people behind the business. And those are the people that are also repping your company really hard too. Company culture is one of those things I could go down, and we should actually do a whole episode on it because I have so many cool ideas with company culture, and I think it's one thing that we don't really discuss a lot. And
so those are some pretty big ones, but and many of these could be very unexpected, right? To go with today's theme. Loss of reputation, right? You don't know when you might get a bad review. It might just you might just be like tickety boo going along your day, and then bam, you get a notification that you got a review, and you're like, oh, I wonder what it says. And it could be terrible. Not good. Challenge in your personal life. Usually those catch us off guard. Or when your major client says, we're going to go in another direction. And then fighting with your team. It can all just come out of nowhere. So use those tips and tricks to bounce back and come back stronger.
Exactly. And we also would love to pass it off to you guys as well, whether that article resonated with you, if you have any further ideas, if it helps at all, we would love to hear. And if you guys also have any tips too that you perhaps have of ways to deal with the unexpected, because unfortunately we can't plan for it, so we might as well figure out how to deal with it.
Exactly. It's or share a story with us of a time that something unexpected happened to you and how you dealt with it. We'd love to hear that too. So
exactly. But alas,
we must say goodbye.
Or
see you later.
See you. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Thriving Tides. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
Follow us, Thriving Tides, on Facebook, Instagram, and now YouTube to stay connected. And remember, don't fight the rip currents.